Ladies and gentlemen, the Malaysian government is going to roll out a series of policy to reverse the decline of the ringgit. So to start off, the ringgit has been declining seriously over the last 2 years, ever since the increase in inflation and also the corresponding increase in interest rate in US and the rest of the world. As a result, the ringgit has been declining tremendously because the Malaysian government has not increased the interest rate in tandem with the rest of the world. This is a similar experience to what we see in Japan, and as a result, the ringgit has fallen tremendously. So from about 3.15 or so, now it's depreciated in value to about $3.52-53 to a Singapore dollar. And that has serious implications to a lot of Malaysians, because your cost of living increased and the cost of imports become a lot more expensive. Now, the Malaysian government is not blind to this. They realize that this is a serious matter, and as a result, in Parliament, they have decided to roll out a series of measures. So the most important thing that the Malaysian government is trying to encourage businesses and consumer in Malaysia is to adopt what we call a Malaysian first attitude. For consumers, they're encouraging them to spend first Malaysian products. So this would mean travel less overseas and do your vacation in Malaysia. So this naturally means that they should go less to Europe for holidays, less to Singapore for holidays, less to Australia for holidays, and go to places like Genting Highland, Cameron Highlands, maybe Penang, and what other Redang Island, which is fantastic. Tioman Island is fantastic as well. Many places in Malaysia are also very exciting. They are trying to encourage domestic tourism rather than overseas tourism. Now, this means that the Malaysian consumer, because they travel less overseas, they will spend less in foreign exchange and buy domestic more. So this means that the ringgit will not have a selling pressure and depreciate the ringgit. So that is, in theory, a very workable solution. Then they also encourage a lot of buying of domestic products rather than buying overseas products. And this would certainly resonate with a lot of people in the old days during the Asia financial crisis. If you go to those shops, they actually have this label called Buatan Malaysia, which basically means made in Malaysia, right? So this is something that they are trying to encourage every Malaysian to do as well. The question really is, will this help? In my opinion, this is something that will help in theory, but in execution quite difficult, because the depreciating ringgit already caused many Malaysians to stop traveling overseas and buy less imported products. Because with a depreciating ringgit, they will actually already find it's very expensive to travel overseas. So naturally, overseas tourism is already on the decline. So what the Malaysian government is trying to encourage is for those people who are on the fringe that can spend on overseas tourism to cut down their overseas tourism. This group of people will be a lot less anyway. So I don't think that will be very impactful. The one other thing that will really help is if there's an inflow of a lot of tourists. In particular, they are betting that the Chinese opening of their market, of their borders, will allow a lot of Chinese tourists to come into Malaysia. My analysis is this: many of the Chinese tourists are already on the decline. Why? Because they have domestic economic problem. The property bubble has burst, and the purchasing power of Chinese tourists has gone down tremendously a lot. Still, the Chinese market is so big, so even if, let's say, 1% or 0.1% of the Malaysian tourists would come to Malaysia, I think that will help. This will require a lot of effort to market Malaysia as a tourist destination to come to Malaysia. I'm sure this would help tremendously, but I don't see that there will be coming in big numbers, because I don't see them coming in big numbers to Europe. I certainly don't see the reports coming in that tells that their tourism overseas has gone up. I see the reverse actually. And in Singapore, fortunately, we do see some increase in Chinese tourists, but it is still a long shot from the heydays of pre-COVID. So I think it will help, but they have to do a lot of marketing to these destinations to draw these tourists to coming in, because there is a global competition for Chinese tourists in a declining tourism market from China. So it's a long shot as well. So we talk so much about consumer. The Malaysian government is also encouraging government-linked companies from Malaysia to convert their foreign investment into local investments, right? This will also help to protect the ringgit from declining, because if you invest in overseas, you have to sell your ringgit and buy US dollar or buy euro or buy overseas currency. This will cause the ringgit to decline. And when you do the reverse, right? When you sell your investment overseas and buy and transfer the money back into Malaysia and buy the ringgit, this will certainly help to support the ringgit and maybe even reverse the ringgit decline. So the Malaysian government encouraged not just the government-linked companies, but also encourage the private sector to do so. This is a strategy that will work again on paper, but to all fund managers and to all investment-savvy companies, what they want to do is to maximize returns. And most of the case, the maximizing of the returns are found in overseas, in a larger market. You look at it right now, the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, are all increasing like crazy, whereas the rest of the world are on the decline. So it's very difficult to tell these government-linked companies and private enterprise to sacrifice their shareholder returns, to sacrifice their company returns in exchange for a bigger agenda to protect a national interest of supporting the ringgit. I think it's a long shot. I think the board of each individual companies and the government entities will find it very difficult to execute this, to sacrifice their individual returns for the greater good of the country. So I don't think this principle will work easily. Now, the increase in the cost of living in Malaysia certainly has taken a toll on many Malaysians. And I would say the effort to increase the salaries of the public sector hopefully will also cause the private sector salaries to increase, because they have to compete for the same workforce. But this does not address the problem of the declining ringgit, and in fact, I think it will worsen the decline of the ringgit. Why did I say so? Because one of the reasons why the ringgit has been a decline is the continual budget deficit, which means that government spending outstrip the government revenues. And that's the result. This caused the ringgit to fall. And by increasing the pay of civil servant, the government deficit increases. So while trying to help the civil servant to afford the product, you inevitably will cause the ringgit to decline further. So all these are strategies that will work on paper or work in novelty and in altruism, but it doesn't work in practice. So realistically, there's only two things that can stem the decline of the ringgit. First thing is to reduce the relative interest rates between Malaysia and the US and the rest of the world. Why is this so? It's because once your interest rate has a gap that is significant, there will be a huge flow of hot money from Malaysia out of Malaysia to US banks and Europe banks and rest of the world. So people will sell the ringgit and buy US dollar in order to deposit the money into these places. So the ringgit will decline as a result. So the reverse must happen in order for the ringgit to appreciate, or at least to stop the decline, which is that the relative interest rate will have to close up. Now, there are two ways to do it. Number one is to make sure that the interest rate of Malaysia, particularly Bank Negara, which is central bank, increases their interest rates. That's kind of difficult to do, because once you increase the interest rates domestically in Malaysia, the cost of living goes up tremendously. People have to pay more for the housing loan, the car loans, and the higher purchases and things like that. So there's a huge political cost that comes with it. People will be angry, people will be mad at the government and things like that. And already politically is a bit on the fragile side for the ruling party. So I think that the chances of that happening would be less. On the other hand, if the US were to reduce the interest rate, which is coming, but we don't know exactly when. Right now, the signs are showing towards the middle of the year, June, July, or August or September, that time for the interest rate to start falling. But the decline in the interest rates is projected only to have 3 rate cuts of 25 basis points each, which means that at best it's a 1.5% decline. It's still a lot, but it's not going to be enough because the rate cut is going to take about 3 years to happen. So for the next 3 years, we could still see some weakening of the ringgit as a result. So in the longer term, the budget deficit of the Malaysian government will have to decline and turn into a balanced budget or a budget surplus in order for the ringgit to stop declining. Now that's kind of difficult as well. It's not something that's easily done. This will require businesses to do well, incomes of people do well, so that the tax revenue of the government to be good. Not something easily can be reversed, and I look forward for the day for that to happen, so that the ringgit will stop declining, so that Malaysian will have a less impact on imported inflation and so on. So realistically, the only one thing that the Malaysian government and the rest of Malaysia could do is to pray that Jerome Powell reduces the interest rate fast and quickly, so that the relative interest rate levels up. That alone will stem the decline of the ringgit. Otherwise, all the other measures that is planned by the Malaysian government is likely to have what I call Mickey Mouse effect, and it's going to be very difficult. So we shall see how's the impact. I could be wrong, but this is my analysis. So let's watch and see as these programs are being rolled out, and we see whether the ringgit actually strengthens or at least stop declining, shall we? The last parting statement to all Singaporeans and people who are coming to Malaysia as tourists, I will say this. The decline of the US interest rate is going to take place in the middle to the end of this year. That will already have some effect in cushioning the decline of the ringgit. So maybe the interest rate cuts will be steep enough to cause a appreciation of the ringgit. So if you have money that you want to spend for holidays and for whatever purpose investment in Malaysia, perhaps you want to do it now before the interest rate cuts of US were to happen. So if you find this video useful, please remember give a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in a day or two.